Mama Zuri! Mama Zuri! Where are you? Mary, tell me, where is she?
I am so sorry she is not here. She's gone, Ethan.
Gone? What do you mean gone?
She was only the maid. I told her to leave.
She wasn't just the maid. She was the one who raised me.
Long before Ethan Adebayo became one of Africa's youngest CEOs, he was just a little boy searching for one thing every child deserves. His family had everything money could buy. A magnificent mansion, luxury cars, private schools, and servants who made sure every room sparkled. But inside that beautiful home, something precious was missing. Time. Ethan's mother, Isabella Adebayo, was one of the most respected businesswomen in the country. She worked day and night, believing every sacrifice she made was for her son's future. She loved Ethan, but she measured love by what she could provide. She believed the finest clothes, the best education, and the biggest house. She simply refused to let a lonely little boy feel alone. One evening, Mama Zuri tucked Ethan into bed. Ethan, Mama Zuri, can someone have two mothers? Mama Zuri pauses. Her eyes fill with tears. Mama Zuri, a heart is big enough to love everyone who truly loves you. That night, she kissed his forehead, turned off the bedroom light, closed the door quietly, then stood alone in the hallway and silently wiped away her own tears. Because she knew one day the little boy she loved like her own would grow up, and the world might never know who had truly raised him. Would fill every empty space in his heart. She didn't realize a child cannot hug a mansion. Every morning, before sunrise, Isabella quietly kissed Ethan's forehead while he slept, then hurried away before he opened his eyes. Every night, she returned after he had already fallen asleep. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Little Ethan learned something no child should ever have to learn. How to miss someone who lived in the same house. One rainy afternoon, little Ethan stood beside the living room window, watching other children walk home holding their mother's hands. He quietly turned toward Mama Zuri. Ethan, softly, will mommy come home before I sleep today? Mama Zuri smiles gently. Let's keep hoping, my little prince. Mama Zuri never lied to him. She simply wrapped disappointment inside hope. She became the warm voice that woke him every morning, the gentle hands that tied his school shoes, the patient smile that helped him finish his homework, the comforting arms that chased away his nightmares. When Ethan scraped his knees, he ran to Mama Zuri. When he won school awards, he looked for Mama Zuri in the crowd. When he cried, it was Mama Zuri who wiped away every tear. She never tried to replace Isabella. The years passed quietly, And without anyone noticing, Mama Zuri became the heartbeat of Ethan's childhood. She wasn't there because she was paid. She stayed because she loved him. Every morning, she woke before everyone else. She prepared Ethan's breakfast, pressed his school uniform, walked him to the school gate. And every afternoon, she was always the first face he searched for. To Ethan, home was never a place. Home was wherever Mama Zuri was smiling. She celebrated every small victory as though it were the greatest achievement in the world. When Ethan learned to ride his bicycle, she clapped louder than anyone else. When he won his first school debate, she framed the certificate before he even asked. And whenever fear found him, Mama Zuri always found the right words. One evening, young Ethan sits beneath the old mango tree in the mansion garden after losing a football match. Ethan, maybe I'm not good enough. Mama Zuri smiles gently. Mama Zuri, the strongest trees grow through many storms, my son. Those words stayed with Ethan long after childhood had passed. Meanwhile, Isabella continued building one of the country's fastest growing companies. She loved hearing about Ethan's achievements, but she was rarely there to witness them. Instead, she celebrated with expensive gifts. A new bicycle, the latest toys, the finest clothes, everything a child could ask for, except time. Ethan never complained. He simply learned that birthdays ended before his mother came home. School performances finished with one empty seat, and every important memory began with one quiet question. Will mommy make it this time? After a school performance, children run into their parents' arms. Ethan quietly looks around. Mama Zuri approaches him. Mama Zuri, you are wonderful. Ethan, I wanted mommy to see. Mama Zuri hugged him tightly. Not because she had the perfect answer, but because some disappointments cannot be explained. They can only be held. As the years passed, people began assuming Mama Zuri was Ethan's grandmother. Neither of them ever corrected anyone, because love doesn't always need a title. One rainy evening, Ethan became dangerously ill. His fever refused to come down. Doctors came and went. Medicine filled the room. But through every long night, one person never left his bedside. Mama Zuri. Young Ethan slowly opens his eyes. You're still here? Mama Zuri smiles. Always. She held his hand until and in that quiet room, without anyone realizing it, a bond stronger than blood was quietly being written. Years later, that bond would be tested in a way none of them could imagine. Years passed, and the little boy who once waited at the school gate became one of the youngest CEOs in the country. The lessons Mama Zuri planted in his heart became the foundation of the man he would become. People admired Ethan Adebayo for his kindness, his humility, his respect for everyone, regardless of their position. Few people knew those values had never been learned in a boardroom. They were learned in a kitchen from an elderly woman who never expected recognition. Even after becoming CEO, Ethan never forgot the little routines that connected him to home. Every morning before leaving for work, he drank the ginger tea only Mama Zuri knew how to prepare. Every birthday, he insisted she bake the simple vanilla cake they had shared since childhood. To everyone else, she was still the housemaid. To Ethan, she was family. But time had quietly written new lines across Mama Zuri's face. Her hands trembled more than before. The stairs became harder to climb. Some mornings, she paused to catch her breath before beginning her walk. She never complained. She simply smiled and carried on. One afternoon, while Ethan attended an important international business conference, she watched Mama Zuri struggle to carry a basket of laundry. For the first time, she saw not the faithful woman who had served their family, but an elderly employee who deserved to rest. Her decision came from reason, not from cruelty. But some decisions can still break a heart. Inside Isabella's private office, Isabella, Mama Zuri, you served this family for over 30 years. Mama Zuri smiles gently. It has been my greatest honor, madam. Isabella opened a small envelope. Inside was a generous retirement package. Enough money to live comfortably. Enough money to end a lifetime of work. Isabella, it's time for you to rest. You've done enough. Mama Zuri lowers her eyes. Has Ethan agreed to this? The room became silent. Isabella looked away. She had made the decision herself, believing Ethan would understand later. Mama Zuri said nothing more. She slowly walked upstairs to the small room she had called home for 3 decades. She folded every dress with care, packed her old Bible, placed Ethan's childhood drawing inside her small suitcase, and before closing it, she looked around the room one last time. Not because it was beautiful, but because every corner held a memory of the little boy she had raised. As Mama Zuri quietly leaves the mansion, Mary, the housekeeper, runs after her. Mary, shouldn't we wait for Mr. Ethan? Mama Zuri smiles through tears. Most good mothers never make their children choose. She stepped through the mansion gate, carrying only one small suitcase. Behind her stood the home where she had spent more than half her life. Ahead of her was a future she had never planned. That evening, Ethan's car pulled into the driveway. He walked through the front door,
Mama Zuri,
expecting to hear the
Mary, tell me,
familiar
where is
voice
she?
that had welcomed him home since childhood.
I am so sorry.
She is not here.
Instead,
She's
the
gone,
house was
Ethan.
painfully quiet.
Gone? What do
And
you
for
mean
the
gone?
first time, home no longer felt like home.
She was only the maid. I told her to leave.
She wasn't just the maid. She was the one who raised me.
The silence inside the mansion felt unfamiliar. For 30 years, someone had always been there to welcome Ethan home. Now, only echoes answered him. inside the entrance hall. Mama Zuri!
Mama Zuri!
Mama Zuri!
Where are you?
Where are you?
Mary, tell me, where is she?
Mary slowly lowers her head.
I am so sorry.
She's gone, sir. Ethan's heart stopped. He looked toward the staircase, hoping she would appear with her familiar smile. But the house remained painfully still. Isabella walks into the hall. Where is she? I retired her.
She's gone.
Without telling me, the room fell silent.
What do you mean gone?
For the first time in years, Ethan looked at his mother with disappointment instead of admiration. Not because she wanted Mama Zuri to rest,
She was
but
only
because
the
she
maid.
had taken away his
told her to
chance
leave.
to say goodbye.
She
He
wasn't just
rushed
the maid.
upstairs into the
was the one
small
who
room
raised
where Mama Zuri had lived for most of his life. The room was empty. Only a neatly folded blanket, an old wooden chair, and the faint scent of ginger tea remained. On the bedside table, he found a small handwritten note. Ethan quietly reads aloud, "Thank you for letting me watch you grow. Be happy." My son. His hands began to tremble. For the first time since childhood, Ethan cried without trying to hide it. The next morning, he cancelled every meeting, every business trip, every interview. Nothing mattered anymore. He had only one purpose: to find the woman who had raised him. Days turned into weeks. Ethan searched everywhere: churches, hospitals, old neighborhoods, retirement homes, every place Mama Zuri had ever mentioned. But each search ended the same way. Too late. One rainy afternoon, an elderly shopkeeper looked carefully at the photograph Ethan carried, then quietly pointed toward the edge of the town. "I think I've seen this woman." Ethan drove there immediately. The expensive city disappeared behind him. The roads became narrow. The houses became smaller, until he stopped in front of a tiny rented room with a rusted tin roof. His heart beat faster than it ever had in any boardroom. The wooden door slowly opens. Mama Zuri stands there. She is surprised. Ethan? Ethan, tears in his eyes. "I came home." For a moment, neither of them moved. Years of love, years of memories stood silently between them. Then, Mama Zuri opened her arms. And Ethan embraced the woman who had loved him long before the world ever knew his name. But there was still one conversation that could no longer be avoided. The conversation waiting back at the mansion. The following morning, Ethan returned to the mansion. But this time, he did not return alone. Beside him walked the woman who had quietly shaped his entire life, Mama Zuri. As they entered the house, every member of the household stopped what they were doing. Some smiled through tears. Others quietly bowed their heads, because the heart of the home had returned. Isabella slowly walks toward Mama Zuri. Her eyes are filled with tears. "Isabella, I thought I was giving you peace, but I only caused you pain." Mama Zuri gently smiles. "Mama Zuri, Your heart wanted to do good. It simply forgot to ask. Those simple words lifted a burden Isabella had carried since the day Mama Zuri left. For the first time in many years, she allowed her cry. Isabella softly takes Mama Zuri's hands. "Can you forgive me?" Mama Zuri smiles warmly. "Forgiveness has lived in my heart all along." Standing nearby, Ethan watched the two women who had shaped his life. One had given him life. The other had taught him how to live it. For years, he believed those loves were separate. Now, he understood they had always been connected. Ethan gently holds both women's hands. "I never had to choose between you, because my heart has always belonged to both of you." The room fell silent, not because there was nothing left to say, but because love had already spoken. A few months later, Ethan quietly created the Mama Zuri Foundation. Its mission was simple: to care for elderly caregivers, housekeepers, nannies, and workers who had spent their lives raising other people's children. Not with charity alone, but with dignity. At the opening ceremony, journalists asked Ethan why he had named the foundation after a former housemaid. Isabella softly towards Mama Zuri, "Because titles tell you what people do. Love tells you who they are." The audience stood and applauded. Mama Zuri quietly lowered her head, overwhelmed by a gratitude she had never expected. She had never asked for recognition. She had only loved. Years later, children across the country would grow up hearing the story of the maid who raised another woman's son. Not because she was famous, not because she was wealthy, but because she proved that the greatest families are not built by blood alone. They are built by sacrifice, by kindness, by showing up. If someone helped raise you, don't wait until tomorrow to thank them. Sometimes, the people who changed your life are quietly wondering if you still remember them. Call them, visit them, love them while you still can.